So I'm male 28, engaged to be married to my high school sweetheart. Due to some financial insecurities we faced, we moved back with my parents for a little while until we could afford to rent an apartment. Of course, I've lived with my parents in the past, then moved out with my fiancé for 2 years. Now we've moved in with my parents for a while until the house we want to rent is available, which will be in 2 months. For context, I have a married older sister who's on the brink of divorce from her husband because he's doing nothing around the house. He returns from work and sits and plays until he goes to bed, while my sister does all the housework on top of her full-time nursing job. My mom believes my sister is unreasonable in her demands towards her husband and thinks it's a woman's job to do housework and cater to her husband, even if she works a job. Also, when I lived with my fiancé alone, she'd always badmouthed my fiancé for forcing me to help around the house, and always said how, as a woman, she's not taking proper care of me, her soon-to-be husband, because I also cooked, cleaned, and did chores, etc. Even now that we live in my parents' house, when we need to do laundry, etc., I don't expect my fiancé to be the one to do it. I do it myself many times as well. My mom doesn't like that and claims my fiancé has me as a maid. Now, despite all that, my mom demands that I help her around the house when she wants to do housework. And I do. I always do my part since I live here, but for her it's never enough, and I'm a lazy son who doesn't care about helping his mother. After all the ridiculous stuff she said about my fiancé and my sister's traditional roles, I told her, you know what? I'm not helping around. That's a woman's job, remember? So don't demand me to help you with your chores, since it's a woman's job, and I'm a man. Of course, I keep defending my sister, and I keep contributing equally to my fiancé and my chores. I just refuse to contribute helping hands to my mother, since she believes she's entitled to help. But my fiancé and sister are supposed to be maids. My mom has badmouthed me to the entire family right now, and whenever someone visits, they scold me and call me an idiot, basically for being lazy and not helping out my mom. Am I the idiot for giving my mom a taste of her own medicine? Not the idiot. So she's allowed to help around the house, but your fiancé and sister aren't? Your mom needs to move into the 21st century. I still think you should help your mom out, but using her words against her in this situation was justified. I get you. She deserved to hear her words thrown back at her. However, she doesn't see you as a man. You're a child she raised, and children are expected to do whatever chores assigned to them. That's another aspect of her 1950s mentality. The rules only apply to people who she thinks are men. I think you've got it. I was swirling that idea around in my mind. Her son is her son, so he doesn't count as an actual man. The hypocrisy goes deep with this woman. As people say, you should still help. I tell her, I'll help when you admit you were wrong and disrespectful, and when you'll say sorry to both women for how you treated them, and to me. Until then, why should you help? She's not just wrong. She's a massive idiot and is abusing everyone. Your mother is seriously ingrained misogyny, and if it were possible, I would say she has a negative number of legs to stand on. At this age, needing this much education. Jesus! This reminds me so much of an encounter with my grandma. She came to visit, went to inspect the kitchen windows, and told me with my now ex standing right there that I needed to clean the windows. I handed her the cleaning stuff and told her to have fun. She never mentioned something like this again. I'm really afraid of heights. I don't clean windows. Oh, P, you're obviously doing it as a laugh at your mom, and if she can't see the apparent hypocrisy, then that's on her. I, 32 male, am getting married to my long-term girlfriend, Gemma, 30, at the end of next month. Now, Gemma and I are having a small wedding with only close family and friends invited, mainly because we don't want it to inconvenience others, and choosing a venue is hard due to Gemma's allergy. Gemma is allergic to dogs and is terrified of them due to a freak accident when she was younger. That's also when she found out she's allergic to them. While her allergy is not deadly, even when she's taking anti-allergies, her face would get significantly swollen and have red marks all over it that are visible, even with heavy makeup. and she would constantly sneeze. Lockdown was a blessing in that she could wear a face mask that was helping with allergies. She's still trying to wear face masks to help her, but can't always do it inside, as people immediately think she's ill and doesn't really want to have us in their restaurant or cafes. And to the issue, my sister Kate has diabetes and has a service dog, Lenny, to help her. I absolutely adore him, and Gemma's not scared of him either. However, due to Emma's allergies, I've reminded Kate not to take Lenny to our wedding. I was dropping some parcels for her this week as she was away, and they were sent to my house, as I believe my future wife should be able to enjoy her day without the swelling, which would be hard to avoid due to the venue being quite small and private. Gemma gets the reaction, even if there's a dog in the same supermarket, even if it doesn't touch her. My sister's been reminded he's a service animal, and I can't ask her not to take him, but I've told her that he's still a dog, and being a service animal doesn't miraculously cancel my wife's allergies, and she knew about them from the start. I'm not asking her not to take him to any family get-togethers. I'm just asking not to take him to our wedding. My sister and my mom both called me an idiot and are not talking to me and have threatened not to come to the wedding, which I said is fine, as I value my wife's comfort more. But still, am I the idiot? So, what's your sister's solution? Have your future wife suffer at her wedding? Is this some kind of dominance play? It's true you can't ask someone not to bring a service dog, but you can uninvite your sister. You have to stick up for your wife, and it's good you're doing so. I'll predict the future now and say that you'll have to do that more often later on, because your sister and your mother will blame your wife for choosing her stupid health over your sister's dog. Not the idiot. Prepare for more fights in the future. Your sister has to be reminded that she can only enforce bringing her dog to public places. She can't force allergic people out of private places to spend her time there. And people like her can spend some hours without the dog. She won't die. She can test her blood sugar herself for one. If she's unsure, she can have her mother stay by her side to check on her. Yeah, that's my thing too. The dog is trained to smell when she's about to spiral and warn her. Outside of that, the dog can't give her an insulin shot or check her blood sugar. It's just an early alert system. Even without checking, she can mitigate it by what she's done her entire life before the dog, or possibly even snacking on a granola bar every hour or so, just to keep herself topped off. It's not an exact science. We have the tools to monitor it. She'll be okay one day if it really comes to it. My buddy Jack was married and had a kid during that marriage. As the kid grew older, things got increasingly weird because the kid started looking less and less like him. One day someone made one too many jokes about the kid being adopted, and Jack snapped. He ordered one of those mail-in DNA test kits, and Jack was not the father. He went to his doctor and got the same result. They divorced, and he was stuck with child support and alimony because the kid was born in a marriage and was now a tween. He's refused to see either of them since. Jack had a successful business, but when the global issue hit, it suffered over a 90% drop in revenue. We live in a state with one of the first lockdowns and one of the last to lift it. Jack closed his business and had to sell everything, including his house, to pay off his debt and keep up with his child support and alimony until he eventually got the court to lower them. He talked me into buying and reopening his business when things got better. Jack helped me out of friendship and refused any payment. When we're almost to pre-Panini revenue, he finally accepted an assistant manager position, and we're rocking. I'm grateful to him for my success, so I cover him whenever we go out. As a result, he gets to go places and to do things beyond what his salary would allow him to do. The problem is, my fiancée has increasingly gotten mad over our situation. She accuses him of ducking his legal obligations and me of supporting him to do so. Things blew up recently when our friend group was planning for our Christmas vacation. Of course, I'm paying for Jack, and we got into a big argument. She wants me to stop, but I don't want to, since even after covering him, my income is still several times what it was before he talked me into buying his business. She's threatened not to go, and got several people on her side. So now I don't know what to do. Not the idiot, but bro, your relationship has an expiration date. You have very different values. You see your friend as someone who got lied to and screwed by his ex. She sees him as a deadbeat who abandoned his kid, and by paying for him, you support a deadbeat. You guys need to get on the same page about your values before you can move forward with marriage. Also, if you marry this woman, get a prenup. Excuse me? A guy raises a child for a decade and never sees the kid again? Even considering the backstory, that says something about his character. I would think your fiancé would have more of a problem with you hanging out with this guy at all versus what money you're spending on him. OP, you are the idiot. Are you building a future with your fiancé or Jack? Why not set a solid salary for Jack and not just cover his expenses whenever, unexpectedly? Are you and your fiancé's finances joint or separate? Jack probably doesn't want a higher salary because it'll raise his child support. They're both trying to play the system to the child's detriment. He raised that kid for a decade. The court considers him the father because that's in the best interest of the child. It's really bizarre that he went no contact with a kid he loved for so many years. He's deeply deficient as a person. So a woman who has an affair sticks her husband with child support for a kid that isn't his. He ends up paying for everything in the divorce, and you feel sorry for his ex and the kid? Would it be better if he just saw the kid and ranted and raved about how he's not his kid and he has to pay for it, etc.? It's better that he just leaves the whole thing because his resentment will always show through. With all the new technology available today, our lives need to change. I'm a woman, and I genuinely believe that. The antiquated law that because you're married, the kid is automatically yours is not fair to men. So last week, while I was on a business trip, my fiancé let her brother borrow my car since he needed one for whatever reason and doesn't own one, and she was using hers to go to work. When I came back, I noticed the entire front bumper was dented and basically destroyed. So when I went to ask her what happened, she told me that she let her brother borrow it, and he drove it into a pillar by accident. For some context, my car was a gift from my dad for my graduation and had tons of sentimental value to me. So I told her I would expect her brother to foot the bill of around $20,000 to get the bodywork replaced after I got an estimate from the dealership. She said she couldn't do that since her brother hadn't held a job since the global issue hit, and he wouldn't be able to afford it. This made me madder than I already was. So I left the apartment, got myself a hotel room, and she sent her brother a message saying I'd expect him to pay for the repairs. Otherwise, I'd get lawyers involved. I'm currently considering calling off the engagement or postponing the wedding because I don't think I can trust my fiancé around my finances anymore after she basically loaned something worth $150,000. I drive a BMW M4 to her wildly irresponsible brother without telling me. This is after she already knows how much that car means to me, not just financially, but sentimentally as well, and then proceeded to try and defend her brother because I can afford to get it repaired while he can't. Am I the idiot for calling off the engagement? Not the idiot. So instead of her being reasonable and going, you can borrow my car and I'll borrow my fiancé's car, she let her idiot brother use your car? She's not just disrespectful, but dumb as a doorknob. It's a good thing this happened before she could take half your assets. Not dumb, calculating. My brother's irresponsible. He may damage my car. I can't afford to replace my car, but OP can afford to fix his. Also, OP's car lets everyone know how successful and cool the fiancé's brother is. That's why he needs to drive the expensive luxury car and not his sister's. I'd get my ring back and give her and the family 30 days to get me $20,000 to repair my car, or I'd call the cops and file a lawsuit. There is no way in heck, if you marry her, that her brother and other family members won't just start using your stuff. People who do this stuff agree to let their deadbeat family members move in for undisclosed stays. This is not a family you want to marry into, OP. Cut your losses. You can do better. A year ago, My wife bought a very expensive luxury car that cost about $50,000. We keep it in our driveway as our neighborhood is relatively safe. A few days ago, Ace stole his foster parents' car and crashed it into our car, which ended up getting our car totaled as the damage was too bad. It also destroyed their car. The kid wasn't hurt only by sheer luck. I decided to press charges against Ace. His foster parents begged me not to do it, saying that he's in counseling and they're working on his issues. They offered to pay for the repairs and to contribute to getting a new car, as luckily they had insurance. In all honesty, I would have accepted it if they paid me for the damage their lenience caused, but I think it is fair if the young delinquent is punished, so I refused to drop the charges even after they paid me. I told them that the kid was already a huge menace, and I didn't want a criminal in the making to get away with a serious crime and continue causing harm to others. They told me to give them the money back. It was $10K, and I said no, because they paid me for their own poor control over a troubled teen, basically punishing themselves, and that the state would decide the punishment for Ace. I'm positive that he'll be locked up for a few years, but to be honest, I think he deserves it, as he stole a vehicle, joyrode it, luckily didn't kill or injure anyone, and crashed the vehicle into another, very expensive one. They called me a massive idiot, and my wife says I overreacted and that I should have either dropped the charges or given them the money back. Edit. I was upfront with them that I wouldn't drop the charges, no matter how much they paid me. They hoped that I'd change my mind when I got the money, and they got mad when I didn't. I don't have any issues with them as they paid for their negligence. The issue is the kid. Not the idiot. You have every right to press charges against Ace. His actions were dangerous and resulted in significant damage to your property. It's important for the consequences of his actions to be dealt with appropriately, especially considering his troubled background and previous run-ins with the law. The fact that his foster parents are lenient with him further emphasizes the need for disciplinary action. Stand your ground and let the legal system handle this. Everyone's the idiot here, I guess. On the other hand, you have the law on your side. That's clear. It is also fair and within your rights to push charges, and the kid is not your responsibility. On the other side, being imprisoned might turn him into a full-blown criminal and eradicate any progress he's made so far. I don't think this is for the best. At least don't tell yourself that it's about retribution. You just want to get that kid away from the neighborhood. He doesn't have the law on his side. It's not criminal to accidentally crash into your neighbor's car. It's criminal to steal a car, but it wasn't OP's car that was stolen. It was the foster parents. The kid is a mid-teen, not 18. He has probably had a hard life, not saying that makes it okay, but I'm sure he's going through a lot, and you're adding to that just because you think he's a punk. Your wife is right. Give them the money back or drop the charges. Or don't, and stay the idiot. Just know you are indeed the idiot. Dude, you can't accidentally crash an accidentally stolen car. LMFAO. The kid made a conscious choice to do all of that. He still caused a crash while committing a crime, negating the whole, "it was an accident" excuse. Also, a $10K payout on a $50K car is insufficient.